Marilyn Muma Anderson here from the EdTech team, and today I'm going to walk you through the Teacher Verification Model repository form, also used in the capstone of the Blended Learning course. Before we get started, some reminders. You only need to turn this form in if you're using it to submit for those asynchronous proxy hours. You do not need to submit a TVM form for any synchronous class time activities or anything that qualifies under the clock time or learner mastery models. If you have questions, you can always go to the EdTech Hub to see what qualifies for each model. So when we're talking about this form, we're really talking about those asynchronous proxy hours that don't fit in the other categories. I also really want to encourage you to feel free to collaborate with other teachers with this form, chunk your lessons to maximize your use of the TVM. Really, the goal of this is not only to capture your proxy data, but to support best instruction in the classroom with a platform where teachers can share and utilize lessons from the amazing educators we have here in Arizona. With that, let's get started. So, and the first part of this form is pretty simple, right? You're going to fill out your email, your first name, your last name, and then you click your program, and all the programs should be listed here. So, and then you click next. The next part of this form is the resource details section. In the first question here, you're going to answer the question, is this resource digital or non-digital? Digital meaning you're utilizing computer or electronic sources such as YouTube videos, maybe a Google document, anything that you would need a computer or electronic device to access. Non-digital is paper and pencil-based activities. So like worksheets that you print out and hand to students, packets, things like that. So if it's a digital source, you'll click digital. If it's non-digital, you would click that. Then it will ask you, this is an optional question, but it'll ask you the platform that you're going to be using. These are some of the platforms that often teachers utilize when filling out the TVM, or you can always click teacher created lesson, as often teachers are using their own lessons in the TVM. Then you're going to choose your subject area or areas that this lesson is associated with. You can click more than one subject area. For instance, the lesson could be mathematics and science, or it can just be one subject area. So for our sample lesson, we're going to select English Language Arts. And then with the domain, which will go along with the subject area you just chose, you're going to choose kind of its further corresponding indicator. So you might look on this chart here. English Language Arts has 4 different domain or indicators, right? CTE has 9, and you're going to choose one or maybe multiple indicators that your lesson follows on. So say I was doing a lesson on writing, I could do ELA 3. Maybe if it was a lesson on reading and writing, I would click 2 and 3 under English Language Arts. So that is how this question of the domain and indicators works. Then you're going to create a topic. You need to just choose something short, something that really kind of just encapsulates what your lesson will be about. So maybe writing, personal narratives. Again, it can be short. You're just kind of giving us the topic of what your lesson is about. And then here you're going to include any education standards that go along with that lesson. If you're not sure what standards go along, when you click this link, it's going to take you here to the Professional Learning Hub, and you'll click standards, and then you have access to all the different adult education standards. Now, I already picked a standard out, so I am going to copy and paste my standard in here. Now, when writing the standards, some of the standards are quite long. They're written with a lot of detail. And for the purpose of the TVM, so that it's easy to search and filter through them, you don't need to include all of the description. Just the title of the standard is more than sufficient. If you have more than one standard, make sure you include all the standards that are addressed in the lesson, but you don't need to write the full description of each standard. And then here, you're going to write all the lesson links for the content used in the submission. So any YouTube links, worksheet links, maybe if it's a Google Doc, shareable documents. We really want to encourage you to make your lessons public for other teachers to utilize. And we want you to include all the links that you would be using. So for instance, maybe I have a YouTube video, I would put that link. And maybe I have a shareable worksheet. I would come here and I would put that link in here. Now with this, you'll notice right now it says private to only me. That's the default if you're using like a Google Doc. So I will click the share button. And you'll notice that it says it's restricted, meaning I'm the only one who can access this link. So if I posted this link into my TVM form, no one would be able to see what this document is. Now, I am allowed to keep it private. Maybe it's something I don't want other teachers to see. But if it's something that I'm willing to share out and let other teachers utilize, I would change this so anyone with the link can see. Now, I'm going to keep them as a viewer. That means they will have to make a separate copy of the document in their Google Drive in order for them to edit or utilize the document, so they can't make any changes to my personal document. But this would allow them to view it so they can see your resource. So I'm going to copy this link. And again, this isn't required, but we really do want to promote sharing. Many of our teachers do amazing work here in Arizona. So once I've provided all the lesson links to my lesson, I'm going to add the context. So is this pre-work, extension of the learning, reinforcement or practice, assessment, or maybe it's COVID-19 self-contained instructional material. So I'm going to say maybe this is an extension of the learning that we are doing in class. From here, you're going to write down a detailed lesson breakdown. Now, you want to include just the names of all the tasks that you're going to be doing in the assignment and the associated amount of time for each task. And there's an example here for you to see, right? Watch a YouTube video on linear equations, complete the teacher-created corresponding digital handout, and contribute to the discussion board on campus. And so maybe going along with my narrative assignment here, we're also going to watch, because I posted that link, we're going to watch a YouTube video on writing a narrative. And I know that video is 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Right? Then we might complete the teacher-created digital handout that I also posted the link to earlier, and maybe that takes 20 minutes. Then I could have students maybe record their stories to share with the rest of the class. Maybe that's going to take them 20 minutes. And then they might listen and write a reaction on Canvas or LMS, and that might take another 20 minutes. It's really important then we come to the total proxy hours that this time in the detailed lesson breakdown matches the time in the total proxy hours. So based on my detailed lesson breakdown, my total proxy hours would be 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 4 seconds. Once I've made sure that these times add up and everything is correct, I will press next. This last section of the form is the accessibility evaluation of your lesson. With this first question, audience appropriateness, is this content of this resource more child-oriented or more adult-oriented? And you'll select from the scale 1 to 4 here, 1 being more child-oriented, 4 being more adult-oriented. Then there's a question here on the cost-free access of the resource. Is your resource accessible to students without an additional cost, right? Yes, meaning it's free. Yes, but maybe you're using a special program that only your site has access to. So maybe a different program in the state would have to pay to utilize that. Then you would click the second option here. Or the third one is no, meaning there's a fee for students to use this resource. So you'll indicate which one it is. The other question here is this resource publicly available to anyone with the link, right? Again, it's strongly encouraged when possible to allow collaborative efforts for instructors to make your resources public, whether it's a Google Doc or maybe it's a private YouTube video, something like that. So if it's publicly available to anyone, meaning they can click it and they can access it and be able to use it as well, then you're going to click yes. If it's something that needs to stay private, or you wish other teachers not to have access to your links, then you would click no. And then the last question here is the device accessibility. Which devices is this resource tested on to ensure accessibility? Like, can students access it on a PC, a Mac, an Android phone, an iPhone, on their tablets, or maybe even if they have an older computer that's 5 years or more. And then here's a section if there's something we didn't include. And then you'll click submit. And once you've submitted, you've turned in your first lesson to your TVM repository. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or any member of the EdTech team.